Imagine this. You walk into a room, and you immediately scan the energy. Is everyone comfortable? Is anyone upset? Are they angry at me? Without even realizing it, your brain goes into hyperdrive, trying to smooth over any potential tension. You say yes when your entire body is screaming no. You apologize when someone else bumps into you. You carry the emotional baggage of everyone around you, sacrificing your own time, your own peace, and your own energy just to keep the peace. And what do you get in return? Most of the time, nothing. Or worse, being taken for granted, walked over, and left behind. If this sounds like you, stop what you're doing right now and listen very carefully. Because what you call being a good person, psychology calls a survival mechanism, and it is slowly destroying you. Today, we're going to dive deep into the dark psychology of being too nice. We're going to uncover why good people always seem to suffer, why society secretly punishes the agreeable, and how your own brain has been hijacked to keep you trapped in a cycle of silent misery. To understand why being nice is hurting you, we first have to look at the machinery inside your skull. Evolutionary biology. Thousands of years ago, human beings lived in small tribes. Back then, isolation was a death sentence. If your tribe kicked you out because you were disagreeable, selfish, or uncooperative, you had to face predators, starvation, and the elements all by yourself. You didn't last a week. Because of this, your brain evolved a deep, hardwired fear of rejection. It developed a system of internal alarms that trigger panic whenever you cause conflict or stand out from a group. In modern psychology, this is known as the Fawn Response. Most people know about fight or flight. When danger approaches, you either punch it or run away. Some people know about freeze. You play dead. But fawn is a hidden force survival response. When a person with Fawn Response perceives danger, which for them could be a disapproving look, an angry boss, or a disappointed partner, their immediate instinct is to appease, comply, and conform. You agree with opinions you hate. You laugh at jokes that aren't funny. You bend over backwards to make sure no one is mad at you. Your brain treats social disapproval as physical danger. It pumps stress hormones through your veins just because someone frowned at you in the hallway. The tragic irony is this. The mechanism that kept our ancestors alive in caves is now destroying our mental health in modern society. Back then, fitting in meant survival. Today, trying to fit in by sacrificing your boundaries means the death of your authentic self. Let's be completely honest with ourselves for a moment. Is being too nice actually about being a good person, or is it about fear? Psychologists distinguish between genuine kindness and compulsive agreeableness. Genuine kindness comes from a place of abundance. You help someone because you have the energy, the resources, and the authentic desire to do so. You don't expect anything back, and you're fully capable of saying no when you don't want to. Compulsive agreeableness, people-pleasing, comes from a place of deep-seated scarcity and fear. You help people because you're terrified of what they will think of you if you refuse. You are trading your boundaries for safety. Think about the psychological contract a people-pleaser makes with the world. Subconsciously, they think, if I am always good, if I never cause trouble, if I give, and give, then nobody will ever abandon me. Nobody will ever hurt me. It is a silent contract. But here's the brutal truth. The world never signed that contract. When you are constantly nice, you are actually engaging in a subtle form of control. You are trying to control how other people perceive you by suppressing your own needs. But human beings are wired to respect power, authenticity, and boundaries. When someone meets every single demand with a submissive smile, something dark happens in psychology of the observer. This is where dark psychology enters the picture. When you present yourself as someone who has no boundaries, who cannot say no, and who puts everyone else's needs above your own, you inadvertently trigger predatory behaviors in others, even in people who consider themselves good. It comes down to three dark psychological phenomena. 1. The principle of least interest. In social psychology, the principle of least interest states that the person in a relationship who cares least holds the most power. When you are a people pleaser, you show your cards immediately. You show that you care desperately about the other person's approval. The other person instantly realizes, I don't have to work for this person's loyalty. They are going to stay no matter how I treat them. Once that dynamic is established, respect vanishes, And where respect vanishes, mistreatment begins. 2. The magnetism of narcissism. Dark triad personalities, narcissists, sociopath, and manipulators have a radar for people pleasers. They don't look for strong, boundary-setting individuals. They look for emotional caretakers. A narcissist treats a nice person like a resource. They drain your empathy, exploit your willingness to forgive, and twist reality until you feel guilty for questioning them. Because you are conditioned to fix everything, you'll actually blame yourself for their toxic behavior. You will think, if I had just been a bit more understanding, they wouldn't have reacted that way. 3. The exhaustion of unreciprocated energy. When you constantly give without receiving, a slow-burning resentment builds up inside you. On the outside, you are smiling and saying, "No problem at all." But on the inside, you are drowning in bitterness. You watch people walk all over you, and instead of speaking up, you swallow your anger. And what happens to suppressed anger? It turns inward. It turns into anxiety, depression, chronic fatigue, and physical illness. This is why good people suffer. Not because the universe is unfair, but because boundaries are the immune system of the soul, and a nice person has completely dismantled their immune system to let everyone in. If you realize you are caught in this trap, deciding to change is terrifying. Why? Because the moment you start setting boundaries, the people who benefited from your lack of boundaries will get angry. Imagine you've been a doormat for 5 years. Everyone is used to calling you at midnight to vent, asking you for money, or dumping their work on your desk. One day, you read the script, you look in the mirror, and you say, "No, I am not doing this anymore." The next time someone asks you for a favor you don't want to do, you say, "I'm sorry, I can't help you with that." What happens next? Chaos. The people who used you will look at you with shock and outrage. They will say, "You've changed. You used to be so nice. How can you be so selfish?" This is the guilt trap. This is the critical moment where 90% of people pleasers cave in. The discomfort of seeing someone else disappointed or angry at them is so intense that they apologize, fold back into their old habits, and think, "See? Setting boundaries makes me a bad person." Listen to me very closely. When people who use you accuse you of being selfish because you finally said no, it is a badge of honor. It simply means your boundaries are working. It means you are no longer a free resource for emotional or physical exploitation. How do we fix this? How do you transition from being a suffering people pleaser to someone who is genuinely respected, valued, and emotionally healthy? It requires a shift from niceness to kindness with boundaries. Here are the 3 psychological rules you must implement starting today. Rule 1, the pause rule. When someone asks you for a favor, an opinion, or your time, never answer immediately. People pleasers have an automatic reflex to say yes within 0.2 seconds. Break that reflex. Force yourself to say, "Let me check my schedule and get back to you. Let me think about that for a moment." That simple pause creates a shield between their demand and your reaction. It gives your logical brain time to catch up with your emotional impulse. Rule 2, embrace the power of a clean no. You do not owe anyone a 5-paragraph essay explaining why you cannot do something. When you over-explain, you sound like you are asking for permission to say no. Practice saying complete sentences that end with a period. "I won't be able to do that. That doesn't work for me. No, thank you. No excuses. No fake emergencies. Just a clear, calm boundary." Rule 3, let people be disappointed. This is the hardest psychological pill to swallow. It is not your job to manage other people's emotional reactions. If you say no to a friend and they get mad or give you the silent treatment, let them. Their disappointment is their emotion to process, not your debt to pay. When you stop rushing in to rescue people from their own negative feelings, you allow them to grow, and more importantly, you free yourself. Think about the figures in history or in your own life whom you admire the most. Are they the people who smiled at everyone, agreed with every opinion, and never caused a ripple? Of course not. You admire people who stand for something. You respect people who have clear boundaries, who can say no without being cruel, and who value their own time and energy as much as anyone else's. When you stop trying to make everyone like you, something miraculous happens. You start attracting people who actually respect you. The superficial people, The ones who only wanted you around because you were convenient will vanish from your life. Good riddance. They were taking up space that belongs to people who value your authentic self. Being a good person does not mean being a martyr. Kindness is a gift, not a tax you have to pay just to exist in this world. Stop setting yourself on fire to keep people warm who wouldn't even walk through a puddle for you. Stop sacrificing your mental health, your dreams, and your peace of mind on the altar of other people's approval. The next time you feel a familiar urge to fold, to apologize for taking up space, or to say yes when your soul is screaming no, remember this. You teach people how to treat you. If you treat yourself like an option, an afterthought, and a doormat, the world will happily agree with your assessment. But the moment you start treating your energy as sacred, the entire dynamic shifts. Choose yourself. Protect your mind. Because in the spectrum of the human mind, your peace is the most valuable thing you own. Thank you for watching. If this video resonated with you, hit that subscribe button. Drop a comment below sharing your own experience with boundaries. And remember, stay deep, stay curious, and protect your mind. See you in the next one.